Ethiopia, a nation marked by its rich history and cultural diversity, is now grappling with the consequences of an ethno-federalist governance structure and a flawed 2022 peace agreement that has only fostered further conflict. My name is Ryan Westlake. In this video, I overview the 2020 conflict between the Ethiopian National Defense Forces and the Tigray People's Liberation Front, and the 2022 Pretoria Peace Agreement meant to end the conflict. In this video, I preview some of the ways in which the Pretoria Agreement failed not only to secure a durable peace in the Tigray region, but further inflamed conflicts in the rest of North Ethiopia. I then provide recommendations based on a PILPG memo on this topic for a renewed peace process and a renewed peace agreement to establish peace in North Ethiopia. The Cessation of Hostilities Agreement, known as the Pretoria Agreement, signed in November 2022, aimed to cease hostilities between the Ethiopian federal government and the Tigray People's Liberation Front, commonly referred to as the TPLF, the military group of the Tigray region in Ethiopia. But the peace was fragile and the agreement's scope too limited. Ethiopia's ethno-federalist system, established in the 1990s, aimed to give autonomy to its diverse ethnic groups. Each federal state, aligned with a specific ethnic group, controls its local government, police, and resources, a structure that both unites and divides.
In 1991, TPLF took power militarily and forced the 1995 constitution upon the country, establishing an ethnic federation. And the constitution, in its very preamble, declaring as one of its guiding principles, quote, rectifying historically unjust relationships. And further, especially Article 6, stipulating all sovereign power resides in nations, nationalities, peoples of Ethiopia, and that every nation, nationality, and people in Ethiopia, quote, has unconditional right to self-determination, including secession. However, in reality, these provisions were not meant to create a genuine democratic federal system in Ethiopia, or to promote the principle of self-determination in its true sense. Their main objective was rather to isolate, target the Amhara population, the legal system that existed in the country for the last 30 years. It's very clear that it's the source of all the problems in Ethiopia. It did not even spare its own founders.
The Tigray War between the Ethiopian federal government and the TPLF broke out in 2020, 2 years after the national election of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, which displaced TPLF from power after decades of control. Tensions inflamed when Tigray held regional elections after Prime Minister Ahmed imposed a national postponement on elections. Forces from neighboring Eritrea and Amhara regions, both of which had long-standing disputes with Tigray, joined the fighting on the side of the Ethiopian federal government, but were ultimately excluded from the Pretoria negotiations to end that conflict. The war involved heavy casualties and reports of extensive atrocity crimes and other civilian suffering on all sides. The Pretoria Agreement exclusion of key groups from the process, combined with the government's attempt to hold those excluded parties to the terms of the agreement, led to ongoing disputes and violence, undermining the initial cessation of hostilities. Armed conflict continues in the Amhara, Oromia, and Afar regions, driven by a mix of government forces and regional armed groups. The government's imposition of media blockages has fueled misinformation in these regions, further deepening divisions. One of the main points of contention is that a provision in the Pretoria Agreement regarding the TPLF's disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration into the Ethiopian National Defense Forces includes a mention relating to the National Army's monopoly over force in the country. While only the TPLF agreed to these terms, the government is reportedly attempting to disarm and demobilize all regional armed movements in the country. Additionally, due to polarization and stalls in the implementation of the agreement's provisions, there is public skepticism around whether the TPLF fully disarmed or not. This, in combination with the National Army's violence in regions like Amhara, Oromia, and Afar, makes the notion of disarming regional armed groups a contentious issue. There is a pressing need for a peace agreement, one that ends the fighting and addresses the root political, social, and economic issues fueling these conflicts. Durable peace will require a renewed peace process involving all affected parties in the negotiations, and ensuring that any new agreement is broad enough to address the complex web of issues at the heart of Ethiopia's conflicts. Read PILPG's memo for more insights into the Pretoria Agreement and recommendations for future peace talks.